Well, welcome back to KGM Home Inspection from Attic to Crawl. This segment, we've got a special guest with us today, and it's Alex Fenske, with president of Chicago Southland Homes, also with Keller Williams. And one of the things we're going to talk a little bit about today is the relationship that, and it all starts with the agent, and at that point, you know, with the home and the home buying experience and the home inspector. So agents and home inspectors, that's where a lot of relationships are built and sometimes broken, and that's okay. That's just kind of the nature of the business. So, with that, I'd like to introduce Alex and thank him for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So, you know, one of the things we want to talk about is initially is, you know, how important is the home inspection? You know, from an agent's view. You know, 10 years ago it was, or 10, 15, 12 years ago, is basically a home inspector was pretty much bought and paid for by an agent. In today's world, with an educated consumer, that's really not the case anymore. And you know, home inspectors can make or break a sale, and agents understand that. But you know, your better agents, your mature agents, your experienced agents, they really depend on the home inspector to really kind of help them and help their client, which is our client, through the process with as little trouble as possible. So what are your views on that?
In our philosophy, it's critical, and there's so many reasons why. So one of them is I can't have the liability as an agent of attempting to act like I can educate them on the condition of a home. I mean, I know enough to be dangerous, and yet I'm obviously not qualified or licensed or anything to be able to really give them advice on it. So I have to have a different professional who is qualified and licensed tell them what they need to know about the home. Contractually, there's a lot of liability there too, because we've actually had instances where somebody didn't get a licensed home inspection against our recommendation, because we always 100% of the time recommend they get one, and they were actually unable to modify or cancel the contract because they didn't have a licensed home inspector's report. And depending on who the seller is, if it's HUD or, you know, an institutional seller like that, they can say, well, no, the contract says you can only do that if you have a licensed home inspection done. And if you didn't, you're out of luck.
So basically dad or the cousin or uncle, Bob,
somebody's uncle came over and you know, took a look at it and said it was a bad deal, and they attempted to cancel based on that, and you can't do it. So you know, all of those things are, at least I think, kind of secondary to the fact that you just have to know what's wrong in the home, what's right in the home, what you should be looking at for maybe replacement 5 years out or even 10 years out. And there's nobody else that can really do that, even if you do have a family member in the trades, or if you yourself are in the trades or are an experienced home buyer. I've bought a lot of homes myself, and anything that I would buy now, I'm getting a home inspection too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've often been called, you know, basically the deal killers with that. And when I tell agents, they'll blatantly ask me, are you a deal killer? And I said, I've never ever killed a deal. However, I've seen a lot of homes commit suicide. And that's pretty much what I tell them with that. So the homeowner that wants to be a little bit proactive with this, you know, before they list the home, you know, pre-listing inspections, I know that you've been an advocate of that, of just kind of knowing what's going on before you even get into it. I mean, I can't see that, but helping the entire process move forward a lot quicker.
I think it's a win-win. I mean, if you're going to go and sell a car, you're going to go get it checked out, and if there's anything wrong with it, you're going to fix it up before you go sell it. Why would a home be any different? We advocate for a pre-listing inspection because it gives the seller the opportunity to address any defects that might otherwise be, frankly, pretty scary if they come up after the buyer's all excited. You know, they got the contract, they got the house, and their fingers are crossed that there's nothing wrong with it. Well, you and I both know there's something wrong with it.
Right.
Of course, there's always something.
There's always going to be something. Yes.
No home is perfect. So, yet if it's a small area of mold, easy to address, kind of freaks some people out if they're at the home inspection and the inspector says there's mold. Well, if we can prevent that, then the whole thing goes smoother, and the buyers end up getting a home that they really, really do love and didn't have to have second thoughts about. The other part of it is that home inspections, and I don't mean home inspectors, but home inspection issues are the number one reason that contracts are canceled. And they account for more cancellations than any other reason combined. And the reason is, everybody's got a different opinion about what the defect, what needs to be addressed, and who should do it. When we have a seller do a pre-listing inspection, about half of the time, when we share that report with the buyer and tell them it's annotated and says they already corrected this, corrected that, about half the time the buyer doesn't even get their own home inspection because they can see, here's a report from a qualified professional, we can see everything about it, we don't need to go spend the extra money, we're okay with this, and we've just eliminated the number one reason that contract might fall.
Right, and I believe the seller at that point shows that they're proactive, as well as being sincere about wanting to try and deliver a good house. Again, obviously, there's always going to be something wrong with the house, and a lot of people ask me, at the end of the inspection, well, would you buy the house? And my standard answer is, no, I already have one. That usually ends the conversation. But I'm not there to tell them whether they should or shouldn't buy it. My job, is to provide them with as much information as I can so that they can make an educated decision. And I always tell them, once you get the report, sit down with your agent. They've seen hundreds of these reports. They're going to be the best one to kind of navigate you through all the pages, and if there's going to be any negotiations or anything with that at that point, time to go with it. So, and then moving forward, when your team is looking for an inspector, what are they looking for in an inspector? Are they looking for the guy that can knock off an inspection in 30 minutes and get the report out the same day? And there are some guys out there like that still, unfortunately. But what's your team kind of looking for?
Well, let me put it this way: I've been on home inspections where I noticed things that the inspector didn't point out, and then I felt compelled to tell my client afterwards and say, when he had the cover off of the panel, I noticed that fill in the blank. Just to me, that's definitely not good. Our responsibility is to recommend inspectors that are going to do their job and fulfill their duty to our client so that they know about everything. Now, like you mentioned, not everything is a point of negotiation when it comes to the contract. Those are two different things. Kevin's job is to tell you every single thing that is wrong, could be wrong, might go wrong. And our job, and we actually have a tool for this, kind of a guide that we've recently started giving our buyers to look at while they're on the inspection, to be able to know the difference between what are the things that they just need to know about versus what are things that they should be thinking about asking the seller to remedy. Yes, you need to be thorough. That's the role that you play in the transaction. I think the biggest thing is trust, so that we know that you are discovering anything that needs to be discovered, and you also aren't. You're looking out for the client's best interests, and when we have a trusted relationship with somebody, we know they're doing that. We don't have to question it, and if any problems come up, we know there isn't a problem with at least that part of it.
Right.
So, the trust and the ability to talk with people and explain things in layman's terms, because otherwise a 16 or 32 page report could get pretty lengthy. Okay.
Well, that sounds good. And it's a lot of information here in a very short amount of time, and I definitely appreciate you coming in and covering that with us. So again, Alex Fenske, President of Chicago Southland Homes, agent for Keller Williams in Orland Park, one of the top agents there. Thank you for coming in and spending some time with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. We look forward to our next segment of From Attic to Crawl.